What is going on, everybody? It's your boy John, and welcome back to Gearbox. So today, similar to a previous video we did on talking some dollars and cents on the 2024 Raptor, we're gonna do the same exact thing with the 2022 Mk5 Toyota Supra. So buckle your seatbelts and let's get right into it. So before we talk about the Supra, let's go ahead and talk about the predecessor to this car, not in genealogy of the Supra, but as far as JDM vehicles, or I guess the JDM vehicle that I owned previous to this, which was a 2019 Subaru WRX. Now, with that vehicle, I just want to go ahead and say I love that vehicle. I miss it in a lot of ways. I'm overall glad that I went to the Supra, but I do miss some certain aspects of the WRX sometimes. Not all the time, but a couple times a week. I'm like, man, I miss having a third pedal, or I miss the sound of the Subi rumble, or whatever. But anyway, that's besides the point. If you have not been with the channel for a while, I had that WRX for about 5 years. Was a manual base model, built it up, did a whole bunch of stuff to it, and absolutely loved it. Now, over the lifetime of that vehicle, I managed to put about 70, I think it was like 74,000 miles on that motor. It was tuned, it had a J-pipe, it had a lot of stuff done to it. And if you know anything about Subarus or the FA20 or anything in between, you know that 74,000 miles was about, I don't know, 35,000 miles overdue for the engine exploding. So I decided to part ways with that vehicle and enter the market for another vehicle of equal or greater value or stature that I could toy around with and modify. And so we landed on this beauty right here. So now a little bit of information on this car, not that it's anything crazy necessarily, but once again, this is a 2022 Mk5 Toyota Supra. This is the 3.0 Premium. So outside of any crazy trim models or anything like that, this is kind of the cream of the crop as far as I'm concerned. And once again, I've loved every minute of it, even though it is wildly different from the WRX, both a power perspective, 2 doors versus 4 doors, you know, pretty much everything about this car is different, but different in a good way, right? Now, when I decided I wanted to sell the WRX, my wife and I kind of sat down, and mainly she was like, well, what are you gonna buy? Do you need to buy another car? And I'm like, yeah, honey, like, yes. Me personally, ever since the concept car of the Toyota Supra came out, I knew that that was just something that I really, really wanted to have for a multitude of reasons. Number one being the Supra badge, but just the overall concept of it, right? It seemed like a really cool car and something that I would jive with. And so we started our search. Really, the only criteria I had for this car, outside of, you know, color and a little bit of cosmetic stuff, not that there's a huge range in the market, I guess you could say, but I was not under any circumstances going to get the 4-cylinder. That should not exist. We need a 6-cylinder turbo. Like, don't just, yes, that's what it was. So after searching long and hard for this vehicle, we found this Supra on the southwestern side of Atlanta. Being here in Greenville, it was about a 2.5 to 3 hour drive one way to find this vehicle. But we went ahead, put a deposit on it, and started to kind of do the process of transferring that WRX into this beautiful piece of machinery that we sit in right here, right now. Now, at the time of purchasing this car, obviously we're dealing with two main different numbers. And what I mean by that is, what do we get for the trade-in value of the WRX, and what's the overall for sale value of the Supra? So for the Supra, It was listed at around $48,000. Ultimately, I ended up talking them down to like 46 something, but the market was pretty hot for them, so I knew that I couldn't be too stingy. I almost just had to kind of swallow my pride and go ahead and purchase a car for roughly $47,000. Now, as we were in the transition process, let's call it, of trading the WRX in, I tried my best to fight for every dollar and cent that car was worth. And that included not only the value of a base model WRX, but also the value of the mods that I put into that car, which equaled roughly $20K. Now, did I think that I was going to get the full $20K out of that resale? Absolutely not. If anything, it probably hurt me on the resale, given the fact I was not selling it private sale. But it got to a point where I didn't want to deal with private sale. I was just like, let's trade it in and cut our losses and get in the Supra. Final trade-in value was $16,500 on the 2019 WRX. Not great, but not horrible either as far as I'm concerned. But either way, we now had $16,500 to put down on this $47,000 Supra. So of course, the third kind of monetary value to this equation was the amount of cash we were going to put down on top of the trade-in value of the WRX, which I decided to put down about $8,000 in cash toward this vehicle on top of $16,500, which left us in the low 20s as far as our loan value on this vehicle. The loan was at 8.5%, which by no stretch of the imagination is awesome. But I was kind of at a point where I'm like, I don't care. I'm getting this car one way or another. And so that's what we did. Now, once all of the money was exchanged, the trade-in value, the cash down, the purchase of the Supra itself, we ultimately ended up with a monthly total of about $480, $490 a month on a 60-month loan. It's important to note that although that is slightly high, I would say, my intention was not to just keep that loan for 5 years, right? Obviously, everyone's intention is to pay that off earlier than the loan comes due. But for me, I was on basically a 2-year plan to get that paid off. So $490 a month to me was not awful. I didn't love it. But regardless, compared to what the WRX was when I didn't have that car paid off, it wasn't astronomically higher than what I was paying at that point for a much nicer vehicle, and in my opinion, a lot more potential based on what I wanted to use the car for. Now, last but not least in this equation of kind of affording this vehicle and whatever, and for the record, I'm 27 years old, got a good credit history, all that sort of stuff. Like, at no point, in my opinion, should I ever be flagged outside of maybe age and being a dude for being a bad lender or anything like that. But outside of all the other financial stuff, of course, the last thing to keep in mind is the monthly insurance payments on this vehicle. Of course, anyone in their right mind would know that a Supra, 6-cylinder Supra, is going to be a lot more money, relatively speaking, to insure than your average run-of-the-mill truck. But regardless, I did bundle the insurance of my truck with this insurance through Geico, and ultimately ended up paying about $100 per month for insurance on this vehicle, and a pretty good / high insurance at that, right? I was not just gonna get the base insurance for this car. Typically don't advise that in general, but regardless, we're sitting at like $580 to $590 per month all in, to own this vehicle, and I am happy to report that at the current time of filming this video, my current payment monthly to own the Supra is just that insurance payment. We have paid it off. I am very proud to say that, and honestly, it gives me a lot of freedom to do some things with this vehicle that I wouldn't otherwise do, but that's going to be a topic for another day. So guys, if you like this video, if you like the topic of kind of the financial side of owning a vehicle such as this, please give this video a big fat thumbs up. Of course, if you have any questions, comments, whatever, drop them in the comment section down below. I'd be happy to go back and forth with you guys and really help you, pretty much in some way, shape, or form achieve your dream, right? But anyway, like, go into the comments. I love all the feedback in the comment section, good, better, indifferent, whatever. I really enjoy it. And as always, guys, hit subscribe, hit the notification bell. You know the drill. Until next time, peace.